Hi, I'm Susan Schatzer, one of the producers of the newest movie coming out from the LA Tribune, The Pillars of Power. Joining me is another producer. Together today, Deepika and I are going to take a look at her business, where she is, where she's headed, and what you can do to see if this is something that might interest you in the future. So tell us about what you're doing, what you're up to.
Oh, well, it's been really a beautiful journey. I wrote a book, Hello Universe, It's Me, that came out 4 years ago now. And that book continues to win awards. It's an LA Tribune critically acclaimed bestseller. And as of today, it won its 6th award, which is
Congratulations!
Thank you. And it's just a beautiful example of a book I wasn't even sure I should write. I didn't even want to release it to the world. Every step of it, I had that inner hater, that inner critic in my ear saying, don't do it. Don't do it. What will people think? What will people do? Well, what's been so beautiful is the response to the book has been incredible. So many people have seen themselves in my story, and it's been an honor bringing it to the world. We just translated it into Spanish, and we were in Mexico City multiple times already promoting the book, and in Miami. We have other stops in Latin America planned, and the book is getting such a beautiful reception there as well. And from all of this, we've created our own publishing company. So I'm the CEO of Soul Sparks Press, and we have 40 authors writing with us right now. And my mission is to bring all the sweepingly inspirational stories to life, all those stories that stop you in your tracks and make you think and see a different way. And I am so excited by these beautiful authors that are now part of Soul Sparks Press and everything that they're starting to bring to the world through their writing.
Yeah, it feels like you dropped the pebble in the pond, and like your book has been creating the waves out, and now they're crashing back in.
Yeah, and that's the power of your story and sharing your story. There's something like 80% of people want to write a book, and only 20-something% of people ever start, and only a few percentage of those people ever actually create a book. Why? Because we know our stories, we know there's something to our stories, but we get so afraid to share them with the world. And I feel like what I'm showing people is that you can do it. You can share it. You can bring your story to life. You can spark souls, and nobody has the story, your story, the way your story has gone down. And you have no idea who else out there is going to benefit from your words, right? From your experiences and all that you've been through.
Yeah, I love what you're talking about. And I know you left corporate to do what you're doing now. Any regrets? Any like, I wish I didn't? Any like, if I could go back, I would?
I officially retired from corporate midpoint of 2024, and I think it was the best decision that I ever made. I didn't leave corporate because I hated it and it's so terrible or any of the things people like to say about the corporate world. I had a very illustrious, successful corporate career, and I'm so proud of it. But I also knew that there was more. There was more inside of me that I wanted to share, more that I was meant to give, more of a way for me to be fully and totally, completely in my purpose. And now writing books, bringing them to life and helping other people do the same and show them the impact that their books can have is me operating totally in my purpose. So I'm never mad at older versions of me for making a different choice. All those choices, all those decisions, professionally and personally, brought me to the point that I am today, being able to sit here talking to you. Yeah.
Yay, and how much fun are we having together?
So much fun. This is lovely.
So tell us about your book. Is it a single? Is it a double? Will there be a trilogy or a part 2? What is brewing inside of you in the book world?
I love this. I had always had the vision when I wrote Hello Universe, It's Me that it would be a series. And so, spoiler alert, I am working on the second one in the series. And we'll see. We'll see where that takes me. Writing is an art, right? It takes the time that it takes. You'll have so many people out there telling you could do it fast and quick and in a weekend and in a day and in a month. And no, writing is an art, right? And you let it take the time that it takes. The sequel that I'm writing is taking me longer than I thought it would take me, but it's such an honor to keep bringing this story to the world because people need it. I was just a normal person living what looked like a very normal life. But even within my normal life, there is something that is resonating so deeply with other people when they've been in that same rat race that I was in, that same hamster wheel, doing the same thing day in and day out, and wanting a different path, but not knowing how do you exit from everything that you're doing. And what I teach people in Hello Universe, It's Me, is step number one is quiet the whole thing down. We are so busy. And we pride ourselves as a society on the busyness. What did you do this weekend? Oh, I was so busy. Oh, I did all these things, right? Instead of just being like, oh, no, I rested.
Yeah, the more you do, the more productive you are. And that gives you like a check and a gold. You get a crown, and a medallion.
Yeah. But is that valuable to be so busy? Does that feel good in your energy and your body to be that busy? It certainly didn't for me. It felt frenetic. It felt exhausting. It felt depleting. And I didn't want to live from an exhausted, depleted state. I want to live in a state where I feel fired up on all sequences, on all levels, right? Where I'm just ready to go. And that's the way that my life has shifted for me. The journey I take everybody on in Hello Universe, It's Me, is to move from that journey of that exhausted, depleted state to a state where you wake up and you're fired up and ready to go. Like I wake up now and I'm like, oh, let's go. I get to do this all day. This is my life, writing, creating, inspiring, supporting, and just showing people that other ways, other possibilities are totally and completely available to you.
That is great. So take us a little minute back into like you as a child. What was the programming that you received within the culture, the Indian culture, that sort of led you down the road to choosing something different today?
I grew up in a really great family. We were the happiest family that I have ever seen, laughing, joking, enjoying. It doesn't mean that life wasn't hard or difficult, but my parents always had us living this life in a way that felt miraculous and felt wonderful. But even within that, there was these certain areas of conditioning about what it means to be a good girl, right? Or what it means to be successful, or the path that you want to follow. And as a product of immigrants, I wanted to do them proud, right? And this is why, even though I loved writing from the earliest of ages, I always wrote in my high school paper and in college, and I always wanted to be a TV journalist. Like I always knew I wanted to be in this space. But it was not considered like a sure shot career or a successful career or that one that I would make money at. So I ended up making more practical choices, right? And that was the product of my environment. And I don't blame them for that. That was just a, risk adverse decision and choice to make. Nothing wrong with that. But when I had the opportunity as I grew up, I realized, that love of writing, that is truly my soul's purpose. It's been with me since day one. And I denied the purpose along the way, right? And that's okay, because if it finally came together in my 40s, no problem with that for me. But I think my conditioning was be practical, be logical, work really hard, you'll get the results, and then just be happy with where you're at. But I was always one of these people who just wanted more. There's got to be more to all this. There's got to be even more. And some detours here and there later, but eventually now being in this position where I am allowing myself, giving myself full permission to explore what's truly possible for myself at each and every turn is exciting, right?
Yeah. Was it an element, Deepika, where there was something missing? Like fun or joy, or like you were hitting all the things to be the good daughter, the good person, the good neighbor, but something was missing? Or was it something completely different for you?
Absolutely, something was missing. It felt like, wait, what? If you've done everything right, why am I feeling this way? Why doesn't it feel as exciting as it's looking? Why doesn't it feel as joyous as it's seeming to other people? So absolutely something was missing. And I think fundamentally what was missing for me was love. I don't think I loved myself enough or expected the people around me to love me enough to be able to tune into what it is I truly desired. So in order to make what we created, this household, this life that was looking so good on the outside, in order to make that persist and continue to work, it was making myself play small, continuing to play a role in what felt like a drama, right? And I didn't want that to be my life anymore, right? I knew at some level that life is meant to fill you up from the inside, right? It's meant to feel joyous and wondrous and wonderful, right? Even if all you're doing is watching Netflix, and cozy up on your couch. It is meant to feel wondrous and wonderful. So when that was missing for me, it was really the light bulb going off. It was my soul sparking moment that no, life is meant to feel and be a different way. And I gave myself permission, like everyone else can do, right? To go explore what that meant for me. And now I am living a life that feels like it's just running on all cylinders and feeling incredible and feeling amazing, even in its very ordinary moments. I like to call it my extraordinarily ordinary life, right?
That is so fun. Yeah. So tell us about childhood with your family and your first generation here in the United States. So how did that impact the story that you wrote?
Well, I think that was a lot of the reason I didn't even want to write the story, right? So a lot of my upbringing was you're not really telling everybody the whole story, right? You're sort of like allowing people to see you the way you want to be seen, right? Not maybe the way the reality is. And again, nothing wrong with that. I don't blame anybody for that. But I think for me, when I went to go write the book, when my mom started to find out, or my family, they were like, what on earth are you going to say? What are you going to share? What are you going to do? And I let this just be my thing, that I was going to tell my story truthfully, courageously, authentically, so that other people out there could realize that their story matters too, that they could be seen and not hide in the shadows or be ashamed of being divorced or life not working out in the picture perfect way that you might want it to work out. So I think the childhood version of me was, well, you don't really share your business out in the public like this, right? Or keep things to yourself, or, we'll figure out how to spin this later kind of a thing. But for me, it was like, no, my truth is going to help other people step into their own truth. And that's what I wanted to do.
I'm so excited we got to do this today together. And I know filming just got started here today. What are you most looking forward to?
I am so excited to be with all of the other cast members today and just see so much inspiration, so much knowledge, so much power all in one room, but not that traditional power that we think of when we think about power, but power from within. And I think bringing that all to light in this movie is going to be fantastic.
I know. Can you feel like each of us are like super high power, and then when you get us together, it's like quantified?
Yes, absolutely. And what I think is most beautiful about it is that it's a different kind of power, right? It's not the kind of power that external mechanisms might put on us and want us to have, or that we have to adhere to, but it's the power that we've all learned to cultivate from within that has helped us to kind of elevate and become at this new level. So I find it very exciting.
Yeah, I noticed with all of us, especially when we get into like a kitchen area, we don't have force with our power. We have strength with our power. Is that what you have witnessed as well?
Absolutely. And I think it's such a beautiful way for looking at the word power, right? Is power forced? Is it something that is coerced? Is it something that one person dominates on the other? Or is it more of a collective, right? Is it through each other that we bring that strength about and that love about and that new wave, new energy of power? It's pretty wondrous.
It is pretty amazing to be in a different frequency that we're not used to, having grown up with a lot of power and force, both in our families and in our households. So tell me what it was like for you heading this way to be in the movie.
Well, it's such an honor to be in this movie, and it's such an honor to see a movie like this coming together with such an incredible cast. And I'm just really... For me, it's an opening, right? A continuous opening and a continuous opportunity to share the things that have truly changed my life, right? I have been working in Silicon Valley for 25 years as corporate can be, and it's been amazing and it's been wonderful. But the true strength of my own story, the true resilience of my own story has come from redefining what power and strength and all these words that we live with can mean. Because you're right, we're brought up with a certain degree degree of conditioning around this and belief systems that are given to us. And nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with the fact that those have been the ways we have been taught, right? I was one of those kids. I did everything right. Whatever anybody told me to do and told me to have in order to have a great life, I was just busy checking the boxes to make it all happen. But it wasn't until my 40s that I could reassess and really reconsider whether all those beliefs that I took from teachers and parents and TV, Hollywood and Bollywood, if all those things really applied to me. And I think that is the beauty of this movie and this conversation that we're having, is we all get to decide what power, strength, resiliency all mean for us. We get to decide what are our own pillars of power for ourselves. And I find that just a really exciting thing.
I completely agree with you. And so many people who've been interviewed have had the same takeaway from being here with the cast members. And so we applaud Mo Rock, the CEO of the LA Tribune, for bringing all of us together. And this is the first launch. This is the first movie to pick this one. Tell us how you feel about being in it.
Oh, I have learned to honor my hell yes moments in my life. And the minute that I got the call from this film, I was like, I am in. And you may ask yourself why. Well, why was it such a hell yes moment? Here's the thing. We spend so much of our life trying to decide what things could go wrong, right? What things might not work out, why it's not the right time or the right moment. And what I have been doing for myself, and I think what so many of the cast members have been doing for themselves lately, is starting to honor what does feel right, what does feel real, what does feel true. So when I had the opportunity to be part of this film and to talk about the pillars of power, the way I see them and the way our new world is starting to see them, I mean, it was a hell yes from within that I had to do it, that I had to be a part of it. And I think this is the thing for everybody out there, is to honor those moments from within when you want to say yes, and yet you start to hear the no's, right? Can we say no to the no's now, finally, and allow our yeses to come through? And for me, that was this opportunity to be in this film, not just to do a film, right? We can do all sorts of films. There's lots of movies out there, things being made, documentaries being made, but to do this particular one with this particular cast, and how incredible that can feel.
Yeah, I'm so excited that we get to do this together. And you being here in California, there has been so much upheaval and sadness and loss in the area. Tell us how it's been being boots on the ground here with the LA fires, and then showing up here for the movie, like still holding space for it.
Yeah, LA is home. I've been living in Southern California since I was 10 years old. Last 15, 20 years, I've been up in the San Francisco Bay Area, but always LA has had my heart all the way. And I landed in LA just a couple days after the fires had begun. My sister was evacuated. And it was this beautiful feeling the other day. I was sitting at the coffee shop, and everybody that came in was coming in and sharing their story of the fires, right? The baristas were talking to them. They were talking to each other. Firefighters walked in, and everybody jumped up to pay for their coffee, to shake their hand, to thank them for their service. Here's what I feel about all of this, is we get to start anew. We get to start anew as a collective. And these moments, kind of like when the pandemic started, right? These moments are a collective surrender. None of us can do anything about it when LA is burning, right? What could we do? All we could all do, those of us who have LA in our hearts, whether we were here or not here, was watch it burn. But what we could do afterwards were to surrender to that moment and to show up as a collective. We were all so equalized in that moment, right? And I think that is another element of being part of a movie like this, and the pillars of power, is to show how equal, right? And how much, if we can surrender to the collective energies of this universe, we're able to then create together. So I think we need, just like our bodies need a cleanse, right? And we drink juice for 3 days, or we drink water, or we do all these different things. Our lives need the cleanse too, right? And we got a collective cleanse with the fire. So of course it's sad about the devastation and the deaths and all of this. And there'll be so much finger pointing this way or that way. But at the end of the day, it was a beautiful collective pause, right? To just stop and to have so much more awareness around what is really happening in this world and what really matters.
Yeah, I love how you're bringing up the fact that this is a cleansing situation. And it feels like where you're out with the old, in with the new, on with the next. Like sort of in a flow. And so when you have a lot of things that have been there for a long time, it's like feng shui in your house. You have a lot of clutter, a lot of old things in spaces. There's no movement for energy to kind of move around. So would you talk a little bit about how the fires and the energy have worked with what you do for business?
Oh, absolutely. I'm CEO of Soul Sparks Press, and I'm here to bring sweepingly inspirational stories to life. And that moment yesterday, sitting in the coffee shop and everybody coming in and wanting to share their own stories about what that happened and who was affected around them, it just reminded me again and again how powerful our own individual stories are. Nobody has your story. And nobody has experienced this life the way that you have. And now we have the opportunity through our stories to give those soul sparking moments to other people, right? And to let them learn and to heal and to grow through what we have gone through. And I loved how you said it. We just keep flowing on to the next. We can't sit in this moment, right? We can't sit in the sadness. We can't sit in the despair. We can't finger point. We will. Right? But we shouldn't, right? We're in flow now. We're moving forward, right? This is the new energy and we're moving into it, and allow yourself to do that in both micro and macro ways. As a collective, we're doing that in Los Angeles right now, but in your own micro ways within your life, how can you keep surrendering to the moment? How can you keep flowing into what's next? That is the power of these moments in our lives that allow us to really take stock and to truly reflect on it in beautiful ways.
I love that. And it feels as though LA is going to be like ground zero, you know, for the rest of the world. Like we're going to be watching LA. We'll be watching you to see what you do next and how you do it and how it shows up. So thank you for pioneering that here in the LA area.
Thank you so much. Yes. I think we're on to new Hollywood, right? To new levels of the way that we experience all that we do. And I think it's going to be incredible.
And I love the fact that this movie, being in LA, filming it here in Hollywood, like how is that sort of like apropos sort of a thing?
Absolutely. I mean, especially when you talk about the purpose of the movie and the base of the movie, the pillars of power, we're just seeing things get resorted, and we're seeing it all around the world, right? You've had huge farmers' protests in India. You've had different things happening in Europe and the Middle East. All of this is a reorg. Right? And I think we have to allow and let and surrender to the reorg and letting things come into existence in different and new ways. And I think it's exciting, right?
You know what I just saw, like visually? Do you remember the shake and bake commercials?
Yeah, we're shaking it up.
We're shaking and baking here.
We're shaking it up, and we should, right? And we should be excited and curious about it. And not only, like I said, shaking it up at a macro level, but within yourself. Right? If you're not loving the way things are going in your own individual life, guess what? You get to shake it up. You really do. So
yeah, and it's one of the things that we have as a choice. As a human, we have choice how we do what we do, when we do it, and why.
Yes, absolutely. And all those choices start with a decision. You get to decide how you live this life. You get to decide how you want it to go. You get to decide which direction it heads. It's a decision. So many of us think life is happening to us, right? And that we don't have a choice, that we're just along for the ride. Then this happened, then that happened, right? But actually, you do get to decide. You get to get out of the passenger seat and into the driver's seat. And that's such a hard lesson for so many to learn. But move in that direction, right? You get to decide how you want to do this life.
I love the fact and how you're explaining it, because we get to take our power back, where we've given our power and our decision-making abilities like away to other people who we consider experts, or the ones who are more educated than us, or who are older than us or have more experience, versus what do we know as our truth for ourselves.
Yeah, your body, your innermost self will always know the answers, but we don't trust the nudges from within, right? We say, oh, no, that all the inner hater language starts to come up, right? All that inner saboteuring language starts to come up. But what if we could trust ourselves more? What would it feel like to trust yourself and to know for you what is the best course of action for you?
I love that. So would you give people a little advice or a hot tip on how they could do that with ease?
For me, and what I always tell people is just slow down. I was in this rat race of life, right? Moving a million miles a minute in my Silicon Valley career, trying to be everything to everyone, the super mom, the super wife, the everything, posting all the smiling pictures on social media for everybody to see of how great life was. But it wasn't until I actually slowed life all the way down that I could finally hear what I needed to hear. And when you hear it, then you can shift into learning to trust it too.
That is a beautiful example. We're going to talk about her business, what she does, how she does it, and why she chose to be a part of the movie.
Thank you so much. Yeah, well, it's such an honor to be part of this film and to really be here to speak on the new pillars of power, because I'm sort of part of the old pillars of power, right? The traditional way that we think about power as a Silicon Valley business executive. And all of my life, I was one of those people who just did everything right, just busy doing all the things that everybody said would lead to an amazing, wondrous life. And 4 years ago, I released my first book, Hello Universe, It's Me, talking about how, despite having everything that anyone could ever say you needed to live an amazing life, I found myself crying on the floor of my closet, wondering if I had done everything right, checked everything, every box. Why did everything feel so wrong? And that was my moment when I made a decision that I wasn't going to wake up at 50 feeling the same way that I felt at 40. That I didn't have to just go through the motions of living this life, being that hamster wheel, but I could actually choose to do things differently. So not only did I write the book, which as of today has won 6 literary awards. I won a new one today, which is so exciting. It's also a critically acclaimed bestseller with the Los Angeles Tribune, which is so exciting. But I also have taken that to bring more and more sweepingly inspirational stories to the world through my publishing company. So I'm the CEO of Soul Sparks Press, and we're here to bring those stories to light that stop you in your tracks and make you look at the world a different way, because that was what I needed in order to change my life. And that's what so many people are able to do, or what happens to them when they're reading something and all of a sudden the light bulb goes off that this could be my way.
Yeah, it's sort of like something that the author is sharing with them resonates, and they're like, oh, wait a minute, there's a different possibility here. Talk to us about this.
Absolutely, because we're so stuck in the way that we do things, right? We're so stuck in the way that it has been, in the story we've been telling ourselves about our lives. All those beliefs within us, I mean, you're 80% full of beliefs that are not even your own. They come from your parents or your teachers or TV, movies, social media, all different places. And nothing wrong with the fact that we have beliefs that maybe aren't our own, but guess what? You get to embrace new beliefs. You get to embrace a different way of thinking. So if the way that you've been living, the story you've been living, isn't the one you want to have anymore, guess what? You actually get to change it. And you can create new beliefs, new visions for yourself that support the version of yourself you're wishing to become.
I love that. And it feels so inspirational, because my parents had the saying, well, you made your bed, now lie in it. And it was such an ending. Like there was nothing else but to live the life that you just picked, and nothing else was possible. So tell us about how that paradigm is shifting and changing.
Yeah, it's shifting everywhere. I mean, it's the same thing in Indian culture. Like the pinnacle of your life is to get married. And then after that, you're set. Oh, you're set? Set for what, right? Set to rinse and repeat the same life day in and day out. And I know for me, that's not what I wanted. I realized, wait a second, this rinse and repeat isn't going to fuel me, isn't going to make me feel like I am the biggest, best, most wondrous version of myself. So I want to make a change, right? And so can everybody else. I always say I am no different than anyone else. All the things people see me doing out there, the only difference is that I made a decision to move in the direction of my dreams. I stopped suppressing them. I stopped playing small. I stopped trying to fit into the box that I was created even by myself, that I thought I needed to live in, and instead started to step into the true possibilities of my life. And for me, that was being a writer. And that was helping to create magical stories and now helping other people to do that for themselves too. That is possible. And the minute I stepped fully into what was my greatest, grandest vision, as Neil Donald Walsh says, once I stepped into that, it just moved the whole thing. It was like a symphony was going off. It was like my future self was like, yay, she's here. And that opportunity exists for everybody out there. You can shift into whatever it is you're allowing yourself to dream and to see for yourself.
Isn't that like when we were growing up, we had fairy tales, nursery rhymes, and Walt Disney World fairies, and princesses and kings and queens? Tell us about how that affects people as they're growing up and the paradigm that they buy into and what you can do to help them change that.
Yeah, when you're little, you dream, you believe in Santa, like you're all in on that jig that Santa's coming, right? You believe in the fairy tales and the princesses and you're encouraged to dream and to daydream. And then somewhere along the way, it literally gets knocked out of you. You're taught to be practical, to be logical, to not get too ahead of yourselves, not to dream too big because you might not be able to do that. And that's okay. All of those people that were teaching us those lessons, we're doing it to protect us, right? So I understand. But here's the thing, we don't have to live with those limitations anymore. We're allowed to be that little kid that could dream so big, right? And could see such huge visions for themselves. So quite literally, let yourself put your head back in the clouds. Let yourself dream again. Let those things come through. Because when you allow yourself to dream, only then can you move towards it. You can't move towards something you're not even willing to consider.
Isn't that like a powerful statement? It sort of goes completely opposite from what we were trained and entrained to do with our generation. And so we're actually shifting that. And tell us what we have to look forward to with the next generation that's up and coming.
Well, I think they're going to be more free, right? You've already seen it. They're not picking careers like, oh, let me pick a career. They're picking career portfolios. What are all the different things that are going to make up the way that they earn a living and make their income? Whoa, what a fascinating concept, because you and I were taught you pick one thing and you're just going to do it forever, and then somewhere around 65 you get to retire. But I don't think that has to be true, right? And so this up and coming generation is going to learn to live differently. They're teaching us things, right? About how they want to operate in the workplace, the way they want to have a rhythm between work and life. We were taught it's a work-life balance, but work is way over here. The rest of your life is here. Go ahead and figure out how to balance it. Whose terrible idea was that? It is more of a rhythm. It is more of a flow. There are days work is the most important thing. And then the next day, maybe your parents need you. Maybe your kid needs you. Maybe your own health needs you. And it is going to ebb and flow. I think we're going to keep seeing that, right? From this new generation. And it's a lesson for us to move more into that flow as well.
I love that. Thank you so much. So would you tell us a little bit about your segment, the pillar that you are standing with in the 5 pillars, and what you foresee showing up that will lead people to go watch this movie?
Well, I'm here to share with everybody that everything is absolutely, totally, and completely possible, right? There is nothing out there that you cannot do. We come up with so many reasons and so many excuses, and so much of that inner dialogue, I call it our inner hater, comes out to tell us all the reasons we can't do something. But I am here to really share that everything is possible. Every single thing, any tiny little minuscule vision you've ever had for yourself, I believe you're meant to move into it. Just think in a day, all the things you talk yourself out of doing. But what if we were conditioned, taught, really had the tools to lean into doing things because they can happen? How incredible would that be? So if you want to really lean into that understanding for yourself and really want to finally stop with the saying no, stop with the same old way, then what I'm contributing to the conversation is the energy and the magic and the belief and the trust and the knowingness that you can shift into any version you want to become.
Yeah, and I love how you say the word shift like it's a choice. You know, they get to choose it or not choose it. And really, no one's here to judge them. It's just like, this is a possibility that's available that wasn't before you were willing to take a look at it. Is that how you would sort of explain it?
Yeah, you get to decide. And I think we're brought up to believe that other people know better than us about our own lives. And we give that power away to them. It could be to a parent, to a teacher, to some random influencer on social media. But the truth is, you have it all within you. And you get to decide. You get to decide. I also think people think they've got to tear the whole house down when they're deciding what direction they want to go into. But here's the thing, you don't have to rip it all apart to bring it all back together or to move into what you wish to have. You can actually shift in tiny little ways in that direction. Every small thought that you reframe, every tiny thing you decide to do versus not do, all moves you in the direction of your dreams and things being possible. So the way to that is just to make those little micro decisions every single day of what you're going to believe, what you're going to choose to do. And you don't have to tear the house down to do it, right? You don't got to do anything wild and crazy, but move nice and slowly in that direction and watch the path continue to unfold for you.
I love it. So no second mortgages are required here.
No. You don't have to figure out the how ever. You just get to decide that you want whatever it is you want. It doesn't have to be a material thing. It's the feeling, the sensation, the way you want to exist in this world. I did not want to live in the hamster wheel. The same thing day in and day out. And now the way that I'm living, I call it my extraordinary ordinary. 1 minute I get to be with you having this interview, filming a movie. And the next minute I'm just picking up dog poop on a walk with my daughter, right? With our dog. So you get to decide what way you want your life to go. And for me, this is the way that I've wanted it to go. And I've been able to create it into existence. And like I said, the only difference between me and somebody else is that I decided that I wasn't going to just let the noise of life, the monotony of life be my life, that I could have it a different way.
Yeah, it feels as though there was this bubbling up inside of like, it's not working, this isn't right, this doesn't feel good, this can't be all there is, there has to be something else. So would you tell us a little bit about that? Because some of the audience members may be having that experience and would love to have your bridge to bridge them to the next place.
It was absolutely a bubbling up. And it's a story that I describe in Hello Universe, It's Me, that if I did everything right, if I checked every box, if I listened to what everybody said, why did life not feel or look the way I needed it to feel and look for me? And it was just I'd reached the pinnacle of my career. I had the good-looking husband, I had the kid, I had the house, I had it all, right? By any external marker, I was successful. But for me on the inside, why did all that success not feel any good to me? And for me in that moment, it was a realization like, hold on a second, we can really tap into now why this is not the way it is. If I could help these big Silicon Valley tech companies figure out how they could do things better and more efficiently, I could certainly figure it out for myself. So in my case, I scheduled a breakdown. I couldn't be like Julia Roberts and just leave on a random Tuesday for Italy or Indonesia or wherever she goes and eat, pray, love, right? I had to figure out how I was going to reflect on this life, but inside my messy everyday life, right? I wasn't going to leave my daughter behind to go find myself somewhere. So my story in Hello Universe, It's Me is giving everyone permission to find themselves within their regular everyday life. So if you feel that bubbling up happening for you, and if you're wondering, how is this all supposed to go? You are allowed to pause, to stop, and to examine it more closely and find your path forward.
That is so beautiful. And it gives people a reason to evaluate and take a look at and not make themselves wrong for how they're feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing wrong with how you're feeling. You can have everything and not love it. And there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. And you can have nothing and be so incredibly happy with that. And that's beautiful too. But whatever is that feeling within you, whatever is that nudge, that little spark that's showing you a different way, you are meant to honor that. You're meant to consider that. You're meant to give it the space it needs to be whatever it's wanting to be.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing this with us today. I'm Susan Schatzer, and until we get to meet you in person someday, ciao for now. Bye.